Right? It was so powerful meditation and it completely relates to our topic today. And when we talk about freedom and, when we talk about transformation, then the basic formula for life, which people feel is the formula that will help us to experience peace and, happiness in our lives is this whole approach of outside in, right? Now I wrote inside out. Maybe I should have written outside in, right? So the formula is used in either ways, but it depends on where you are in your journey of life and how you use this, right? Majority of the times, if I want to understand, if I'm on a spiritual path, if I'm a meditator, if I'm practicing something more deeper than just what I see in the world, then I will use the approach of inside out. But in order to understand that approach of inside out, to experience freedom, to experience transformation, I need to understand the approach of outside in. Right. And when we say that we want to bring about transformation or freedom at the outer level and we are focused a lot on the outside, that means I'm looking at what is happening in my external surroundings. I'm constantly focusing my whole attention is on the external world. And what is there in the external world? There are people in the external world. There is my family, there's my body, food, right? There are government policies, rules, regulations, news headlines, what's happening in the world, right? There is a lot of thing of, outside that, oh, they are wearing this, I want to wear this. So what am I going to shop next? So you look for the shopping areas, or you want to look for luxury vacations. Where am I going to go next? What am I going to do next, right? Or there is so much dazzling on the outside that my attention is constantly pulled by all these things that are happening in the outside world, right? Related to work, related to household, related to neighbors, related to people, related to all of these things, right? And on one side, you might ask me, but Sister Tina, what's wrong in looking at the news headlines? I should be aware of what's happening in the world, right? Or what's wrong in thinking about food? We eat 3 times meal. We have to think about food, right? So yeah, it's okay if it's just a little bit of thought about it, but we have to see how much of our energy goes into it when we are totally focused on the outside. Because when I am focused on the external, naturally there is a sort of attachment that I experience to some of these things. Might not be everything for me, but there are certain things to which I start to feel attached to. And that is where then the problem is, where now, because I'm so focused on the outside, so much impacted by the outside, that the outside situation begins to determine my inner state. Right? So if outside good is happening, I am good. If outside something is happiness is there, I will feel up. If outside things go down, I will go down, right? And you can see many examples in your own personal life. Let's say on the outside, what you want that happens, right? Then automatically you will feel happy, right? You will feel happy, you will feel joyful, you will feel peaceful. So this is a very reactive kind of a model, as you can see. If I went to a doctor and I have a diagnosis done and I get the diagnosis report to be normal, I will be up, right? If I get a promotion in my job, I will be up. If I am getting something good news from my friend, I will be up. Whereas on the other hand, if I get to know there is a car accident right outside my house, I will be down. If I get to know my mother is ill, I will go down. So you see what I'm trying to say, that when my focus is on the outside world, then that begins to determine my inner state of being. So my happiness and my peace is now suddenly dependent on the external, right? And it's a very, very stressful way of living. But it can be considered a norm looking at today's lifestyle that people are living, where they feel that this is the only way life can be lived. Perhaps there are many people who are still asleep, and many people who don't even know, like completely ignorant of this idea that I can shift this equation. You know, I can change this equation. I can switch the arrow from going in this direction, outside in, to inside out. And when I begin to live my life from inside out, I'm actually now focusing inside, focusing internally. My entire focus is on the inside, means the focus is on my thoughts, my ideas, my vibrations, my inner awareness that I'm holding, my words, my inner wisdom. So I'm fully attentive to what is happening in the internal world. And when my focus is on the internal world, then I know that this internal capacity to create peaceful thoughts, to create loving thoughts can be increased. And that will automatically then have an impact on my outside world, right? So outside things are still the same, nothing is changing, but I have changed internally. And that's why there is no longer that influence of the outside on me, because I am in this place of stability. So, what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to invite all of you to, explore this shifting or switching of the formula from inside out rather than from outside in, and see how we can use this to create a better life. Because when I begin to live from inside out, it is more of a response kind of a model. Yeah. And not so much of a reactive kind of a model. So, just to give you an idea, so just to give it's not working. Okay. Just to give you an idea, this looks something like this. So, my whole focus and connection is to the outside world. Then, automatically, things that are happening as I want, they will determine my feeling of happiness or peace or love or, joy, whatever it is. But it's a very reactive kind of a model. It is a very conditioned model. It is a very dependent driven model. It is dependent on outside. My happiness is dependent on outside. My love is dependent on outside. My peace is dependent on outside, right? Whereas what we are um, proposing today is that, can we change the direction of the arrow and say, okay, we will live and focus and connect with the inside world, which will then impact my outside world. And it will be a more of a response model, responsive kind of a model, independent of the external things that are happening in my surrounding. And it will help me to live a more peaceful and a happy life. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'm going to shift this arrow, right, and move from inside out. What it does is actually it helps me to empower myself from within. It helps me to actually increase my capacity to create more peace in my life, to create more happiness in my life, to create what I want my life to be. Yeah. So there is this story of a man who seems to be very, very frustrated. And he goes to the sage and he tells him that, I have tried everything. I've changed my hair, I've changed my diet, I've even changed my job, but I'm still not happy. People still misunderstand me. Life doesn't seem to be at the right place. So the sage looks at him and says that, have you ever tried to wash your face while polishing the mirror? And he seems to be very confused and he's like, what? And the sage continues and tells, this is what majority of us are doing. We see our life as a mirror, and when the reflection of the self is not very good or not very nice, then we blame the life or we blame the mirror without thinking that actually, how much ever I polish the mirror, the truth is that the smudge is on my face. So I need to clean my face, right? I need to clean the inside. Similarly, what I'm trying to say is that life can give you an experience of peace or happiness as long as the inside is clean, inside is taken care of. But if the inside is not taken care of, then sometimes what is happening on the outside, we feel that is what is impacting me the most, right? And so, one of the most important ways to focus and to connect ourselves to the inside world means that now I am in a seat where the wheels are in my control. And so my chariot can go wherever I want it to go. But if I'm focused and connected more to the outside, then it is, you can imagine that my wheels are no longer in my control. And so my chariot will go haywire, right? And that's why we say we have a racing mind. We have so many things to do. I'm texting on one hand, I'm taking phone call, I'm answering the doorbell, I am taking care of my kids, I'm doing this, I'm doing, and you're always in that feeling of rush, feeling of frustration, feeling of, not being enough. So, what, when we say that we have to focus and connect to the inside, we are trying to say that become aware of the inner world. Become aware of the inner world and choose the state that you want to be in where you can do your life. Choose the state, yeah, of your inner world where you want to be, where you do your life. Meaning, one is you become aware of your inside world. So you become aware of the natural habits of your mind, or natural habits of your inner world, or natural states of your inner world. So I will give you a few examples. Let's say my mind has a habit of comparing. So I'm always comparing myself with my friends, with my neighbors, with my parents, with my children, with my colleagues, with my elders. I'm always comparing. So what will happen inside? I will never be peaceful, right? Because I'm always comparing. Or let's say somebody said something to me yesterday. Now, whole day, since yesterday to this morning, to this afternoon, to even now, that thought is repeating. Oh, they said this, and then they said this, and I said this, and this is what happened. So, this is like looping. So, my mind is looping in a continuous reel, is going on and on and on. So, again, this is so much restlessness and stress. Imagine if you're doing the same thing again and again. Isn't it feeling of restlessness or anxiety will be created inside, stress will be created inside? Or sometimes we have a habit of getting irritated. Mm, for no reason we get irritated, or sometimes we have the habit of getting, feeling discomfort. I'm not comfortable in this place. If it's little bit hot, I'm not comfortable. If it's little bit rains, I'm not comfortable. If it's little bit cold, I'm not. So external things like that can be cause of it, but many other reasons. So you have to become aware of what is the habit that is there inside, in the mind, is impacted by when it is stimulus is there in the external world. And then when you see all these habits where I'm reactive, I'm going into looping, I'm comparing, I am irritated, I am upset, I am frustrated, I am restless, I am, uncomfortable, I am peaceless. When I see all of this happening, it could be one or any or two or whatever, then I have to create a corollary thought, or I have to create another thought and tell myself, or talk to my mind, treat my mind like a 3-year old and tell my mind that, hey, mind, I want you to be more peaceful. I want my inner world to be peaceful. And so for this, what you do, you follow this sequence. There is a sequence that we teach in Raj Yoga at the Brahma Kumaris. And first, it's sort of like counseling yourself. Instead of going to an external help, you're taking help from your own intelligence, where you're using the divine intelligence, which is not focused on the outside, but more focused on the inside. And you use that divine intelligence and you tell yourself that, hey, mind, I want you to begin to become quiet. Just very gently, like how you would talk to a 3-year-old, not rudely, not forcefully, not impatiently, but very gentle with a lot of patience. You tell your inner world, you tell your inner mind that I want you to begin to become quiet. And what will happen? The mind will begin to slow down. Hmm? The speed of the thoughts will begin to slow down. Then you tell your mind that, hey, mind, I now want you to become still. When I tell my mind to become quiet, it does not mean that suddenly I will have very peaceful thoughts and very pure thoughts. No. I might still have the same quality of thoughts of discomfort, restlessness, reactive, whatever, but the speed will be slowed in the first step. In the second step, when I tell my mind, hey, mind, now I want you to become still. That means I am telling my mind not to become empty, but just become still. Stay there, right? And your mind will begin to become still. Of course, there will be some intruding thoughts, like, thoughts that appear on the screen of your mind, fleeting thoughts. Let them come, acknowledge them, but let them go. Don't entertain them. Don't try to think too much about them, because you're telling your mind to become still. And if some other thoughts come, you see them come and you see them go. You return back to the mind, which is still. And then the third thing, you tell your mind that, hey, mind, I now want you to become silent. Silent means you're telling your mind, don't think too much, in other words. But mind does not understand the language of negation. So you use the language which is more positive, and you tell your mind that, hey, mind, I want you to become silent. Now, a 3-year-old, you have, you have once upon a time, right? You're older, but you had 3-year-olds, right? So, if they have something in their hand, right? And let's say it's not very safe thing, but you want that thing from them. If you just ask them to give you, will they give you? No. But if you take something else to them and you say, take this is much better, you will enjoy this, then they will exchange it, right? They will take that from you and they will give what they have. So, similarly, when you tell your mind that, hey, mind, become silent, mind doesn't like to be just silent. Perhaps you have to give the mind something to fill the mind. And so, in that moment, you can give the mind something which is very positive and very powerful. Let's say, for example, I'm feeling very lucky today. I'm feeling very fortunate. I think I haven't seen you all for last 2 3 months. Maybe I haven't done any session here. So I'm doing this session after a long time. So I was feeling very fortunate. So if I tell my mind that I'm so fortunate to be with these like-minded people and having this opportunity to share what I have learned. So you fill your mind with this thought that I am lucky, I'm very fortunate, and you feel it. Fill yourself with that feeling that you offer this experience of being fortunate to your mind. You give this experience to your mind of being very fortunate. Or let's say, very simple thought where you feel, I am, very happy, I am very peaceful, and you feel that peace, you feel that happiness, and you give that experience. You offer that experience to your mind so that the mind actually becomes peaceful. Now, when you are in this state, then if the doorbell rings, or if you have to answer the text message, or if somebody enters your home, you will be in that state of peace already, right? And so you have the right to choose the response that you want to give. You won't be constantly in that action reaction action reaction action reaction kind of a circle, right? It's that loop that otherwise always goes. Somebody says something, then I have to say something, then somebody does something, I have to do something, something happens there, then I have to do. So this cycle has to be broken, where I'm not reacting to the outside actions that are happening, but I'm more in a state of responding in the way that I want to respond. Does that make sense? Yeah. So now the question comes, how do we, or what do we do to make our minds glow, to make our minds peaceful, to make our minds filled with, these beautiful, pure, powerful, positive thoughts? And of course, in Brahma Kumaris, because some of you are coming very regularly, so I know you must know already that there are a lot of different practices that we talk about, right? One of the most beautiful practice that I have learned recently, I mean, I knew about it since many years, but I did not give too much importance to it. But because here I don't have so much leeway, don't have so much time, so I have started to use this practice of just a minute. Have you heard this practice, just a minute? No? It's, have you heard of traffic control? Yes. Have you heard of full stop? Huh? Yes. So it's the same thing. Just a minute means you just take 1 minute on an hour, every hour, and you pause and you push that stop button in your mind. So it's just like when you're on the road and you see a stop sign, no matter how much you're in rush, no matter you're getting late, no matter you have to reach there on at a certain time, when you see the stop sign, what happens? You stop, right? No matter whatever is the speed, if you see the stop sign, you stop, and you stop fully, right? You don't say, oh, I don't like to stop. Maybe you don't like to stop, but you have to stop when it's a stop sign. So similarly, this practice means that sometimes might be in a rush of things, I might be doing something, and but when this thing goes on, music comes on or something, where you've put an alarm, you say stop to your mind, and your mind should stop. It could be that in that moment that you say stop, already a movie is playing inside your mind. Already a scene is playing in your mind. And you know the beginning, middle, and end of the scene. You know what this one said, now what he will say. Are you able to be with me? Are you relating what I'm saying? So you're already thinking that, yesterday this happened, this shouldn't have happened, I should have said this, I said this. It could, so this movie is playing, you're repeating this scene, and you know the middle and you know the end of it. But when you say stop, you have to stop it. You don't let the movie finish. You don't let the scene complete itself. You say stop, and you stop, right? Because what can happen is that sometimes you could be playing that scene where somebody was being disrespectful to you. Now, I am asking you to push the stop button and intervene in that scene and replace that scene with something that where you felt respected, where you felt good about it, that scene. Or it could be a scene of discontentment, and you stop it and you replace that scene with something where you felt contented. Or that scene could be of peacelessness, restlessness. You stop it, you replace it with scene that brings peace to you. Are you seeing what I'm saying? It could be sometimes that you saw a dream last night. Now you're repeating that whole dream in your mind. And you know the end of that dream was a scary moment or a fearful moment, but you're still playing that dream. So you have to stop it. Huh? and you'd intervene and you replace it with something where you had an experience of peace or happiness or joy. This is actually a very powerful method of bringing about transformation at a deeper level. It just takes 1 minute. It's also called a healing process. Healing doesn't need a dramatic change, right? Healing can happen in a moment where you create one pure thought, or healing can happen in a moment when you have a very nice conversation with a friend, or healing can happen when you have a little sweet prayer with your divine. Healing can happen when you just listen to your inner self. So, healing is not like a dramatic change, but it's just giving yourself that one moment of self awareness. This is the practice of just a minute, and you can use this every hour, on an hour. You just stop your mind from thinking or racing or going in that looping kind of a thing, and add something more valuable to your mind, right? That's the first practice that you can use. The second is what the meditation commentary was saying, the practice of letting go. It is also a form of healing when you let go. It is also called as power of acceptance, and it is also called as power of forgiveness. So, majority of the time, you might have noticed that the mind is filled with blame and regret and repentance. It kind of, when things, especially when you have to live with someone who is constantly on your nerves, then you're constantly blaming them. No, they do this like this, they can't do this way, they have to do it this. So that blame is going on internally very, very much, or regret. So there are two things in this particular practice. One is that I might have made a profound mistake in the past, and so I am experiencing lot of repentance, lot of guilt, lot of shame, and therefore very, very low self-worth. This is one scenario. And the other scenario can be where I am with this person who is very annoying, who is doing the same thing again and again and again. And I'm telling him or her, don't do this way, but they still do it that way. And then in my mind, the commentary is going, are they so stupid? Don't they have common sense? Can't they understand? Can't they realize? So what is happening in my mind? I am again blaming this person, right? I'm constantly blaming this person. I'm constantly seeing negative about this person. And so these are two things. One where I have made a mistake, and the second scenario where someone else is making a mistake, right? So again, you have to see your mind as how? Right? You have to see your mind as 3-year old, right? So you have to again counsel your mind. You have to talk to yourself. In this scenario where I have made a profound mistake, I will talk to myself. I will talk to my mind, and I will tell my mind, yeah, I do understand. At the moment, I felt that this is what I had to do, and I did it. But now I realize that it was a grave mistake. So I apologize to the one I have caused harmed. I understand this is not the right thing to do. And so I want to forgive myself for making this mistake. I release myself from this anguish. I release myself from this guilt. I release myself from this feeling of shame and low self worth. I let it go. Once you have spoken to your mind in this way, then you apply the full stop and never again repeat the movie. Don't repeat what you did 1 month ago or 10 years ago or whatever. It's done, right? You move forward. In the second scenario, where someone else is making a mistake, in that scenario, again, you have to talk to your mind. You counsel your mind and you tell your mind, that, yeah, I understand. I know the soul is as is. This is how this person is. This is their nature. This is their way of living. It must be so hard. What must be going on inside of them? You know, can I feel compassion? Can I feel mercy? And can I, they're not able to control, perhaps, they're not able to transform, perhaps, or maybe they don't even realize. And you can even talk to that soul internally. Now you have to do this, all work is internal work. You don't have to go and talk to them in person. That's not usually very helpful. But intentionally you say this to yourself, that, or to that soul, that what you're doing or what you're not doing is causing so much sorrow to me, but I know that you yourself are perhaps not aware of it. So I understand and I release you from my mind for my own peace of mind. I'm doing this for my own sake, and I love my own peace. I have value for my peace. I have value for a healthy heart. So I don't keep any hurt feelings. I don't keep any grudge. I don't keep anything in my heart. I let it go. I release you. And I send you a lot of good wishes. This is easy, no? This is easy. No? Huh? Everybody is, huh? No? Depends on the person. But what they're doing, you're not working with that person. You're working with yourself. Isn't working with yourself easy? Yeah. So, just like you did just now, you took 1 hour and you came here, right? Aren't you giving yourself an opportunity to reflect a little bit? What you will hear here. Yeah, right. So, exactly what you're doing is the perfect example, you know? So, even at home, just like you took an hour to come here, you can be at home and sit in silence. Take a cup of coffee, sit in your relaxing chair, and don't talk with, keep your phone on silent for some time. Just 20 minutes, be with yourself and see what's happening in your inner world. Take a look at your inner world. Right? If you've never done it before, then it can be scary because you don't know what stuff is there inside. Sometimes some memories and thoughts and feelings and emotions and can trigger something. So, but if you've done it few times, then it's not difficult. In my mind, this process is very, very easy. I haven't heard of anything easier than this because I feel it's you are talking to yourself. Nobody is there to dictate you how you should talk and how you should not talk. It's your mind, you know. Your mind can listen to you, know. But if it cannot, then we'll talk about meditation practice in a bit. Let me talk about the third practice. So, this is basically the second practice where I am using the power of letting go. I'm not holding on to anything, whether I have made a mistake or somebody else has made a mistake. Why? Because I value my peace. I value my happiness. I value my inner state, right? That I want to be in. I don't like myself when I'm peaceless. I don't like to be in a state when I'm restless. I don't like when I am very chaotic and overthinking and upset and irritated. I don't like that. So I like when I'm peaceful. So for that, then I have to make this conscious, intentional effort of letting it go, accepting and forgiving. Now, the third practice is also a practice of healing, but it's more like a navigation system where you are taking a slight detour to come back to the place of center. And we call this as practice of gratefulness or gratitude. And Many people practice this as a fundamental life, practice. They do this every day, and for many years perhaps. But why this practice helps us, it's important, is because, again, like I was telling you in the first instance, that when I am focused on the outside, in my external, there are a lot of things happening. If I look at the news, if I look at my people, if I look at my neighbors, if I look at my children, lot of things are happening in their lives, or in even in my own life with my own body. I've been diagnosed with something, let's say, for example, then that is again a different stress. So when all these things are happening, these can be scenes that create disturbance in me. And when there is disturbance in me, I tend to move towards deficient state where I feel I'm lacking this, I don't have this. But instead, the practice of gratitude tells you to detour a little bit and remove this slide that is causing unhappiness and replace it with the slide that will bring happiness. So see, focus on things that you have that make you feel good, that make you feel peaceful, that make you feel happy, and express your gratitude in a gross form. The first one where we were talking about, replacing the scenes of unhappiness with happiness, that one is just a minute. That one is more subtle. It's an internal effort. Whereas gratefulness or gratitude is more like an external thing. So I am grateful that I am on this spiritual lane, for example, or I'm grateful that I have company of like-minded people, or I'm grateful that for majority of my life I am in a healthy body, or I'm grateful for this such a beautiful spiritual community, or I'm grateful for, having such delicious food on my table every day. I'm grateful. So you talk about this. So suddenly you're shifting your awareness from deficit state to more abundant state. And when you are in that abundant state, that's what you start to then attract more in your life. And you find yourself coming into a state of contentment, right? You see yourself in the state where your mind is now content because you have so much, you know. So more and more I'm grateful for the things that I have, the more and more I experience contentment and happiness, right? So, this is the shift that we are saying. This is the way you can experience your mind to be more glowing, to be more happy, to be more peaceful, right? So, if I want to talk about meditation, how many of you know that we practice Raj Yoga meditation here? You all know. Anybody doesn't know, I don't know, I can't see zoomers. And but the meditation practice is basically the practice of shifting my awareness from external to internal, right? We are proposing that we see ourselves as spiritual beings, as light beings, as living beings in this body, in this matter, in this non-living costume, if you will. And so it's shifting my awareness from being a body to being a soul, from being matter to being, eternal point of light, eternal living energy. And when I shift that to being eternal, then I'm able to tap into those eternal treasures that I hold within myself that perhaps go unnoticed, unused when I'm so focused on the outside. But when I shift that to inside, then I'm able to use those treasures that are there within me. I'm able to tap into those energies of love, of peace, of happiness, of joy, of wisdom, of power that is already within me, right? And the focus of this meditation then helps you to understand, what is the state of my mind? Is my mind peaceful? Is my mind pure? Is my mind clean? Is my mind powerful? Is my mind thinking, thoughts filled with happiness? Or is there fear? Is there hatred? Is there anxiety? Is there stress? What is it? So you begin to, change it. So, again, what is the state in which my heart is? So, what is that one thing I can do to bring my heart to a place of more rest and comfort and happiness and, clean heart and generous heart and a heart that is big and giving all the time, rather than, heart where I don't want to experience any sorrow or any worry or any fear or any, lack or any negative opinion of the self, right? So, meditation helps me to shift the state of my mind, the state of my heart, and naturally my life becomes more glorious and more peaceful and more happy, right? So, that is the practice that we invite you to do. Mm. And I think that's what I wrote on this page, but already I already talked about this, what is you want to focus on this, what is the inside state through which I do my life, in which I do my life. I want to have inside peace, and then I want to do whatever I'm doing in my life. I want to experience inside happiness, and then I bring that happiness into everything I do on the outside. So that's the first part that we saw. And then how do I make my mind glow is there are other practices also that we do in Brahma Kumaris. The practice of serving, for example, through the mind, or the practice of having pure elevated thoughts for the world. So there are other practices also. We can spend the whole night talking about practices. But even if you take one, even if you don't want to take all three, if you just take one practice and practice it for 21 days or practice it for like 7 days, see how you feel. Then you can, it's like you're becoming an experimenter. When you experiment with the ideas, then that becomes your own. It's like you are claiming that asset now. You're making it yours. And it really then helps you. Mhm. So that is the inside out approach, right? There's this little story of a traveler who travels from one village to another. And as he's entering to to this village on the outskirts, he finds an old man, and he asks this old man, what are the people like in this village? And the old man says, well, first you tell me what were the people like from where you came. And he says those people were very rude and very selfish and very unhappy. I'm glad I left that place. So the old man says, well, you will find them here also. Right? And then after a few hours, there's another traveler who's coming from another village, and he's about to enter this village. And again, he sees at the outskirts this old man, and he asks him, what are the people like in this village? And he says, well, you first tell me what were the people like in your previous village. And he says, oh, they were very sweet. They were very humble. They were very happy. I'm so sad to leave that place. And the old man says, don't worry, you will find them here. Right. So what is there on the outside is really dependent on what is there in the inside. If inside is broken, if inside there is unresolved issues or unresolved hurt, then it automatically finds its way to show in different forms in your life. You can't say that I hide my pain and now it's gone. It never disappears like that. It will appear in different ways, different forms. So I have to take time and heal it. I have to take time and make the inside strong. And when the inside is strong, the outside will not influence you. The practice of meditation does not tell you that you will never have negative thoughts or you will never get disturbed. But the practice of meditation tells you that you will have insight so strong that you will never remain disturbed for your life. You will never always remain in that state. You will quickly snap out of it, come out of it, be in that healthy state again. So that's the inside out approach. I have to see who I am inside and then bring that influence on the outside, right? Mm. I can influence the outside, right? Mm. And it's not difficult as long as you understand the basics. It's not difficult. So, with that, I will stop here. And if you have any questions, you can ask, or we will go into a form of meditation if you don't have any questions. But if you have, then I'm happy to take. Here, Michelle, you need this. Okay.
I have a question. If there is someone, I know I'm somewhat familiar with what you were speaking about, although it's always good to hear it again. And I love the story about the person comes from the village. That is a really good tool to remember. So I thank you for that reminder. I've heard it before, but you told it a little differently. That was good. One of the questions that I have, if someone now I take benefit for that, but I have someone who would benefit from this. But often I'm concerned about explaining it to them because they would definitely take benefit. In fact, I'm going to ask, I need a copy of this because I'm going to make the person watch this. But oftentimes this is because it's internal and you're working on yourself, you always have this tendency to like, oh, you should try this.
Yeah.
That's something I wish you could speak to, because I have to be careful of that too, of how rather than telling people, showing people how I react. Does that make sense?
How I react, you said?
No, how, in other words, if I respond a certain way,
Yeah.
eventually people will see that and go, oh, how do you do that? As
Yes.
opposed to me,
Yes.
oh,
yes,
you
yes.
should, because I have a tendency to,
Right,
oh,
right,
you've
right.
got to let this go.
Yeah,
You've got to
absolutely.
do this. And I'm not conveying it correctly. And they're just,
Yeah,
lose
no,
that.
I agree with you totally, 100%. The reason why I'm telling here, because you all came and the topic was given to me. So I have the right, so to speak about these things, but I'm not going to go and tell this to a stranger out on the street or to someone just like that. Oh, you should practice this. Oh, you should do this. No, unless somebody comes and ask for help, or somebody you see you have a relationship with where that they're willing to listen, or they're willing to hear you and see if that can help them. But otherwise, it's not for us to tell others, it's for me to practice it myself. I am also practicing this. I'm not perfect. It's not that I never get frustrated or I never get upset. I have those moments, but then I practice. And from my own experience, I have seen that it's not very difficult. It does take little time, but it's not difficult. Mhm. So, yeah, you don't go out telling to others what to do and what not to do, right? People don't like, anyways, these days to get those kinds of corrections or those kinds of advices, even if their own children, you know how, you can't just dictate to them these days, right? You have to be very gentle. And you have to be a good role model. If you are doing something right, then others will automatically ask you, hey, how did you do that? I saw you. You were so calm in that situation. You didn't react. How did you do that? And that's when then you get the opportunity to share. And then you can definitely share, right? But if you yourself are not doing and you tell others, it's like not a good thing. Acha. Good. Anything else anyone wants to say? Yeah, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi.
I think what can be difficult sometimes is that if you have somebody that is a family member that
Right.
you love deeply, and you see them living a certain way where they're suffering or in pain or have a mindset that kind of continues that. And like when I spend time with this family member, I think about the time being very precious because we don't know how much longer we have together. Yet the person I'm visiting is not really thinking in that mindset. So I can try and let go and accept them for who they are. And that's initially what I do, but it does feel like there's an element of emotion that can be painful because you love this person and they're
Right.
your family and you want them to be happy. You don't want them to be suffering or thinking
Yes.
about things that kind of bring them to a place. So, when I see that, that's where it can be a little bit difficult.
But yeah, I completely see what you're saying, and it can be very overwhelming sometimes to see them in pain, but you are, okay. However, the spiritual law says that don't give sorrow and don't take sorrow. The ethical law says don't give sorrow, period. The spiritual law doesn't end there. The spiritual law says don't give sorrow and don't take sorrow. Even if it's my family member, if they are going through something, that's part of their journey. If I can trust that they will learn something from that or they will emerge beautifully from that, what will help them really is only your good wishes. And if you can maintain the flow of good wishes without doubting, without stopping, without feeling this is not working, if you can continue that, one day it will show you magic. But don't give up and don't feel that, oh, why they are in pain. This is their journey. Give them good wishes, but don't take sorrow from that. Because then, if you take sorrow, you will not be in a place to help.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That was nicely said.
Uh-huh. Shall we close with the meditation? Yeah, just 5 minutes. Okay. So if we can have little music, that would be nice. If not, that's fine too. So I gently invite all of you to bring your 100% attention to your inner world. Turn your face inside. Let your senses withdraw themselves from the outside world. And ask your mind to begin to become quiet. As the mind calms down, becomes quiet, you feel that the speed of the thoughts has slowed down. Now, you gently invite your mind to become still, to become stable. So the mind is no longer wandering. The mind is focused. The mind is still. Even though there are few thoughts emerging, I still see that my mind is pretty still. And now you invite your mind to become silent. So it does not think any extra thoughts, but it remains quiet, very silent. Take this moment as an opportunity and fill your mind with one pure, powerful, positive thought. Perhaps the thought of love and compassion. I am loving. I am compassionate. I fill my mind with this thought and I experience being very loving, kind, compassionate soul. The heart is companion of my mind, and so the energy moves into my heart, and my heart also begins to experience love and kindness and compassion. And the feelings grow so strong that they begin to permeate into every cell of my body. Not only in the body, but it begins to ooze out into this whole room. There is vibration of love and compassion. From this room, it moves into the whole building. The energy travels to the street on which we are, into the whole neighborhood, the whole community. And it reaches far into the distance, touching every heart, every person that I have met, every place that I have set my foot on. These vibrations of love and compassion are spreading. And now you see that the energy is so powerful that it reaches those that I have never met and the places that I have never traveled. And yet the whole world is experiencing the vibration of love and compassion. And without making any effort, my attention goes upwards to the source of love, source of compassion. And the moment I connect myself with the source, I begin to draw upon his light and might into myself. I feel I am loved unconditionally. I am loved unlimitedly. I am loved completely. And when you feel okay, then take a moment and return back to this physical body. But always be aware of this experience of love and compassion. I am love. And wherever I go, I will vibrate this energy of love. Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Om Shanti.
You, Sister Tina. This is lovely.